The nickel tour of the place I live. That's home. There's my truck. That's work. That's the woodshed. You might see a little tiny pink flag waving there. We're going to head in that direction. When you have more than you can fit under one roof, get into the roof. That's a storage container, shipping container rather. It's full. Looking out toward Ukiah Road, that's the 3-mile mark. And back around to 0. And this is the Barker. Again, we're going to do the same thing here. Give you a gradual look around. This is the back side of my office. There's an aluminum canoe here. That's the orchard. That's some wood we had milled up from some trees I cut down. We're going to be headed that direction. When you burn wood, you got to make it too. That's the wood pile. We're going to see where some of these rocks went in a little bit. And that's back out toward the shipping container and back out to 0. Here's the back of the house, the orchard, looking down toward the meadow. This is a road where I often take my truck down for work, which I'll show you some of. I tend to take this for granted, so I just want to show you so that you don't. And the Barker, once again. Looking down toward the golf course and the meadow and the road. I know this may seem silly, but who gets to live in a place like this? Just wait. Springtime, everything's green. Leo likes it, right, Leo? Here we are a little further down the road, looking toward the golf course and the meadow. I'm standing smack in the middle of the road that I showed you earlier. This is called Pygmy Forest. Huckleberry, salal, some fir, and that's a redwood tree clump right there. You might have seen Leo. This is standing almost at the tee of the one of the holes on the golf course. Some fir and redwood trees here. This is pin number 7, looking back up the road. And hey Leo, where are you going? Huh? Come on, puppy dog. Remarkably, this was all pygmy once upon a time. Dad cleared it by hand. Yeah. I'm standing on the fairway of the 7th hole. This is all disc golf, mind you. Give you a nice slow look around. Looking back up toward the orchard and the house. This is another spot on the golf course. Right, Leo? Now, if you can squint, you might be able to see, maybe I can blow this up, huh? Maybe I can't. We're going to be headed that direction for the trail. Looking back up toward the orchard. And the fairway to the Frisbee golf course. 9 holes, par 4. Okay, here we are at the trailhead for the Upper Grove. There's my feet. The trail. We'll look around here. Some big old redwood trees. Give you a sense of scale here. Not too far up. Make you nauseous. Looking back out toward the golf course. Say hi, Leo. Oops, sorry. Quick movements. We're in the center of the grove here, looking north, down the gully they say. Good sized trees here, redwoods and fir. Hi Leo. Show you a couple of points of interest here. This is how nature does its logging. This is a bull pine, also known as bishop pine, that the wind snapped over. And then that thing back there, that's a man-made logging. That's a redwood that was taken around 1910. Notice how far up it's cut. That's because redwoods have a lot of water toward the base, and this log, after it was cut, was dragged down the hill by oxen and then floated in the river down to the sawmill. This is a little further down the grove. Big old fir tree. That's might be a zip line someday. A lot of redwoods here. Give you a sense. You might hear an osprey screeching in the background. There. Sorry for the shakies. The remnants of some split stuff, rails and shingles that were made here in 1910. Try this one again. I had trouble with this shot for some reason. Looking down the trail from the decline. Saw that rock at work. Here's my dog. Hi, Leo. Walking sticks. That's Mom and Dad's memorial. There's a plaque there. This is where their ashes are scattered by their wishes. And down the trail. Here we are a little bit further down the trail from the decline. This is what's called a hemlock. Big tree, related to the fir. That's a Douglas fir. Huckleberry. Looking up the trail. 26 tons of rock hauled down here in 5-gallon buckets by yours truly. A little further down the trail. This is some tan oak. Small redwood. Good sized redwood stump from the last logging expedition around 1910. Those are railroad ties that were cut up by a chainsaw and yours truly. See some rhododendron here. Gets real pretty here in a couple of months when they bloom. Point of interest, this is called the hideout tree. And this is the hideout. My sister and I pitched camp here when I was about 8 years old. We ran away from home overnight. Not bad. Dad came down with hot chocolate the next morning. Looking up the trail. Hemlock. Chinkapin oak. Huckleberry. And more tan oak. You might hear some noise. That's the creek. We'll be walking down there in a second. It's a Douglas fir. More bigger Douglas fir. Looking back toward the hideout tree. Up the trail. Down the hill. And down the trail. You might notice the creek getting a little bit more vociferous here. Sword fern, tan oak, looking at the upper grove, up the trail. This is a lot of work. There's Leo coming. Down the hill. It's very cool here. It's about 55 degrees, I guess. This is called the Singing Creek Bridge. Up the trail, where we were last. Looking around. Oh my, this is a big old fir tree. Biggest one on the property. There's our bench. You can't see the spirit house because it's covered up. Big old burnt stump. Rhododendron. You can just barely hear the singing of the Singing Creek. Here's the spirit house. Judy brought that back from Thailand. It's full of offerings. There's one burnt stump and another. Looking up the trail. Big old fir tree. Leo. Looking down the trail. And this is what we call the dancing tree. Big old redwood. They didn't chop it down because of that twist. These things tend to explode in sawmills, so it's a reject. This is the Dancing Tree Bridge. This creek was here when I created the trail, but the creek was covered over with duff. So I dug it out. Took a little while, 5-gallon buckets. Been down the creek. A mosquito on me. Ugh. Looking up the trail to the bench in the spirit house. Dancing tree. And back. This is the view from the Dancing Tree Bridge. Looking north now. Pretty good sized redwoods here. Try not to fall over. Sword fern. The creek, yeah, I added those flagstones. Back up the trail. Swordgrass. huckleberry. On we go. A good shot of the green bridge. This is the last of the 3 bridges. Huckleberry, redwood, that's about a 5-footer, talking diameter. Back to the dancing tree, the dancing tree bridge. Up the hill. This is pretty much the property line. It's State Park on the other side. And onward. Now this is where this project started. Honestly, I had no intention of doing the whole damn thing. Hi, feet. But I thought this just deserved a bridge, so I got these really heavy railroad ties down here. I can't tell you how, but I did, and just thought, wouldn't it be nice to have a couple of steps? And that's how this project started. Look around here. Back down toward the dancing tree, you might recognize. A lot of rock here. Up toward the green. And back up the trail. I call this the archway, which is silly because there's no arch here. It's just between 2 trees. Looking down at the green bridge. Yeah, a little close on that tree. Sorry for the nausea. Up the trail. And down. This is looking down at the green. Those are the arches. Redwoods. Best I can do. This was practically impassable before the trail because you'd always have to be watching your feet instead of the view. Pretty nice view here. When your feet are on level ground, you can take advantage of it. This is a pine tree at the end of its life, coming down piece by piece. More redwood, huckleberry. That's headed back up toward the golf course. And here's a big old pine tree that fell down and stuck itself between a couple of redwoods. Pathway out to the golf course, surrounded by huckleberry, tan oak, rhododendron, pygmy. Get another look at my feet for scale. Size 13 wide. Trail's about a 1/4 mile in length. There's Leo, my faithful dog, batting off mosquitoes here. Fir, manzanita, tan oak, huckleberry, pygmy. Of course, from the other trail entrance, the north trail entrance, 26 tons of rock. And that's a conservative estimate. Right, Leo?